I feel like a griot right now, so I'm gonna ask you all to let's do a little call and response. When I say I go, can you say amen? I go. Amen. I go. Amen. That helps my nerves, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's that's my way of asking for your attention. And when you say amen, that's your way of saying yes. You have our attention. And so my name is Joss Duncan Ashe. I am the founder, executive producer, and publisher with Love Now Media. Thank you for the snaps. I'm so excited to be here at the Urban Art Gallery with you all tonight. We have a wonderful lineup of people to talk with you about poetry and its importance in our community. We are launching a new initiative called The Poets Press. Whose press is it? The Poets. And I can't wait to see what happens as a result of this work we're all doing together. If I could just have the folks who have been writing with us, the poets in this room who've been writing with Love Now Media, just raise your hand. Yes, and if you go to lovenowmedia.com, you can read some of their work. We've been calling on poets to address some current issues in our communities, and it's been really, really awesome. We have a news outlet. Our managing editor of news, Denise, can you raise your hand? Is right here. Denise has been amazing. She's worked in news for over 30 years. And I guess I should probably not try to memorize the outlets that you've worked for, but major outlets. And she's brought so much to the team. And so we were thinking about really creating an opportunity for poets to be published, to be paid, to be heard, for their work to be more visible. And we said we should just make this a thing. And then we had our strategic storyteller who has endless words. Sarita Martin, raise your hand. Sarita. And we were thinking, well, what is it? The Poets News? The Poets, what is it? Poetic News? And Sarita said, it's the Poets Press. And so here we are launching that tonight. And so to open us up, I'd like to invite two of the poets who have been working with us for over a year at this point. They've done some amazing work. I want to start off with Carlo Campbell. Carlo.
Hey y'all. I'm Carlo. Yo, I just wanted to tell a little story real quick. Because sis was like, chat books yourself. Well, the joint I'm gonna be reading from tonight is free because of her. Just during quarantine, I was like promoting, I was in the crib trying to be like a go-getter. So I'm posting my book, the link to the book, like, oh, y'all should buy my book. Don't miss out. Oh, it's going fast. Oh, you support me. Subtle guilt trips, all those little techniques. And all of a sudden, I look in my journal, in my little account, like 20 books, like, clutch the pearls, and I don't wear pearls. So I clutched the Jones, I was like, yikes. And then I was just like, yo, she's like, I got a surprise for you. She came up the steps. She's like, I was like, oh shit, nigga, it was you. You bought her books. Yeah, so I got poems about all kinds of stuff. But I'm gonna dedicate this joint to my wife. I ain't gonna open it. Can you pass me the free joint?
Switch to the other mic right there.
All right. Hey. I don't even really need no mic, but I'm just doing it for the cameras and stuff. So I can be subtle. So I can pull it back. Give you my WDAS voice, which doesn't carry well. All right. So I have 2 series of books. In my new book, I got this joint where they're like, was one time it's like scribbling for my sanity. It's like scribbling for my sanity 1, 2, 3, 4. And in this one, I have this series called Matters of the Heart, which seems a bit appropriate for the launch of Love Now Media round. So, I'm gonna give you a couple matters of the heart. Something probably like lovely, and then like something like, something like loss driven. The storm front of your departure brings forth overcast on my sun. So every day it rains incessantly, unmercifully. If God were as kind as Kevorkian, I could rest. But these rains flood my soul. The same cowardice that cries mercy shares coin with the hero that would vanquish the demons of doubt with a kiss. If only memory serves me and reality will no longer obey, I would climb the mountain that rivals the rock formation that the Christ stood upon, tempted with the world's riches 1,000-fold, and turn a blind eye to these vagaries that pale in comparison to a jewel. Let the world, the planets in proximity call me fool, but nay, for my love. For she transforms a choir of hecklers into a chorus of doves. So long as my intended is mine, time and space are illusory, and all other love is usury. Infatuation may be an illusion, but terror becomes me if my jewel that rivals the brilliance of the heavens be found in another chest. So long as my ship is seaworthy and sail catches the winds of desire, I request. So, that's that, John. I can do one more show, John? All right, cool. Thank you very much. Oh, you kind people. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dedicate this to my hood Jones. No, and I mean this with like super duper love. Like, I mean, you know, there's a type of woman that's like, she don't care if you like her. Like, she's not thinking about what you like. And she's not even mindful of the fact that even the conceptualization of dissing her is punching down. Because her life is framed in struggle and challenge and injustice. So this is dedicated to her. It's called Her. You ain't gotta like her, but you just gotta know ain't nothing like her. Before you cross her at the palm of viper, there's a song inside her, but to find it takes a diamond miner. She's more than just a semen cup sheathed in a bomb vagina. There's a passion in her that was fashioned, that makes a conscientious driver smash the back of fenders. You were fashioned in her. Only the thorough is the smashing in her. And when it's on, there's no compassion in her. Or maybe very little. A frightening puzzle, she's a scary riddle. She got a view of sinning, but old thoughts, not that new opinion. She gives a fuck about your view of women. She's a prize indeed. She's got a life she's down to die to feed. While she can follow, it's her style to lead. There's a demon in her. A thirst for life, it's like a fiending in her. And what you see ain't what it's seeming in her. She's a breed of winners, built like a steed, I know you see it in her. The realest, period, is bleeding in her. She got a little bit of beast in her. Had a baby net as a little old beast in her. Got a good gig, bring home the bacon and a beef with her. And you don't want to ever beef with her. Knockout king. If you strike her, she's a brief hitter. You strike her, you'll be out cold. Wake up wondering what you was out for. She don't take shit you doubt, no. She got a reputation out, though. She good pudding. Sweet if you taste her, got the hood looking. I don't gotta tell you she good looking. See, the sun can't hold a candle to her. And if you cheat, she a vandal to her. She Vaseline and take the ammo to her. She got belief in her. She got the vibe of the streets in her. Real woke, no sleep in her. Thank you, y'all. This book is free on the table for the people who can catch it before it's not free.
Hey guys, is this the one? Okay, well, that was a lot of energy. So and my piece might bring it down a little bit, but I'll, if it's okay, share a second one to bring it back up so that I don't leave you guys depressed up here. So I'm going to sit though, is that okay? All right. So this is, I just completed this piece, and this is like one of those that you took a long time to get out, and so now it's finally done because Joss kind of challenged me to, and it made sense. It connected for me when she asked me to do it. It's called Dear Tony. I can still remember that woman's voice. I was affected by the sound of a mother's cry at sundown. The sun set on the life of her son. All I could hear was, "Not my baby." She screamed it on repeat, and I couldn't retreat from what felt like a bad omen. And that wasn't the first one. I was bombarded with thoughts as long as the legs of centipedes, crawling across my memories, triggering the traumatic pieces of me. You think she felt my energy? The random sis at Burlington Coat Factory, she said it so casually, but I know she was speaking facts to me when she approached me that day, smiled, and stopped to say, "God loves you." And almost as if God knew, her benediction was scarcely made it through. I literally saw a billboard quoting the same line, "God loves you." I was feeling out of my mind, for when I looked again, it wasn't there for a second time. Another day, an eerie encounter. Sitting at the diner's counter, I ordered my breakfast. A short stack with all the fruit dressings. My RBS face hid my distress as I tried to absorb the cook's happiness. And he put my appetite to the test, betting that I couldn't get through his big pancakes and their fluffiness. So I stuffed my face to stop from crying, for surely pancakes can soothe and heartache. Refocused on winning, I finished my plate. I was told spotting was just implantation. The severe cramps was my body adjusting. The difficulty finding the heartbeat was just the baby's heart synchronizing with mine. The empty sac was just too little and early on to find anything to show. But as the saying goes, a mother's know. As I sat alone in a hospital room waiting for the emergency ultrasound, I was affected by the sound of a mother's cry. At sundown, she lost her son. Her tears felt like an omen, and that wasn't the only one. I went to breakfast to soothe my aches with pancakes, stuffed my face to stop from crying over how many times the OB continued trying to find my child's heartbeat. But the messages of God, the messages of love that God let me see was sent to hold me over, for he knew the worst was still before me. On June 25, 2009, I still haven't forgiven the sun for his radiant shine. I was living out a scene of a movie as the sonographer administered my latest ultrasound. She stared at the screen, unqualified to speak to me about what she's seen. She excused herself to call the doctor. Today, Michael Jackson's death wasn't the shocker. Buddha baby, inability to determine the sex, no amniotic fluids, overdeveloped kidneys, no lungs, placenta previa, no expectation of life outside of the womb, no sliver of hope after the second opinion. I had to make a judgment call that would leave me scarred no matter which side I fall. But I couldn't imagine recovering from the hurt if I had to plan a death on the same day I gave birth. So I walked through the protesters as I arrived for my final appointment. Imagine the disappointment when I still refused to share the child's gender. So many more moments of my experience are just as painful to remember. Dear Tony, as I reflect on this experience in 2022, all I can think about is what if Roe versus Wade didn't exist and I couldn't make this decision with you. That's it. All right. I really just finished that today, so it's finally out now. But like I said, to lighten it more, let's see. Story. Okay. So, you know how we make babies, we fall in love. So I'll go into this one about that moment. I think he's channeling Nina Simone because he's got a spell on me. He makes me smile with a purpose and doesn't flinch when I state what my worth is. If I could bottle my shade, I would patent this shade of radiant skin, melanin kiss from the sun. I thank his mother for her son. At the first curve of his lips forming into a smile, I've committed his profile, digging his style. He's comedic with an old school Hollywood flavor. He became my favorite movie line to roll off of my tongue, the Denzel to my glory because I crave his shaft. His dominance run down my spine like the king of Scotland, yet he remains coolly high. With a mind like Malcolm X and a body built like the city of gods, I just take in his scent and just exhale. I dream of being his Dorothy Dandridge and his Josephine Baker. How could you not take her? I wasn't prepared to find out what love's got to do with it, yet he was quickly becoming a Love Jones. I feel the jungle in my fever whenever he is near. Whenever I hear his name on my lips, his kisses taste of the sweetest juice, and I savor each and every sip. I'm sweet on him like brown sugar, so I expose the roots of me and I manifest our family tree. He fused the poetic justice in my words. I have filled pages with thoughts of him that will remain unheard. Scribbling his name on the back of paper takes me back to my school days, putting the higher in my learning. I have learned his ways. He has all the promise of an original film, and all I want to do is press play, sit up all night and watch him as I replay his words in my head like script come to life. Immersed in his personality, time with him is one of the best moments of reality. Even in the days when we choose to sit quietly, I listen to his silence because that is when his mind speaks the loudest. And when we are apart, it becomes a different world. Cue the dramatics of Whitney and Dwayne at Hillman. These are the notes of a woman dedicated to the cast of Real Men. Thank you.
So we appreciate you for coming out. And I am just really curious for anyone else, how you found out about 11 Days of Love Stories or about this event in particular. Feel free to yell it out. But yeah, let me know where y'all came from. Atiolas. Okay. Was there like a flyer in there or how? Okay, you found, shout out, the flyers is working, y'all. Okay, old school marketing, I love it. Anybody else? How y'all found out? IG. And the technology is teching. I'm not mad at it. I love it. Anybody else? Just let us know. Okay. Josh. Okay, that's it. That'll do it. But no, so we are thankful that you all are here. And it's even nice to know that there's such a mix of how you all found your way here. You could have been, y'all know a lot of people that said this, could have been anywhere else in the world. But you all are here for love and with love. And we receive that fully. And our intention that we are setting is to ignite joy, healing, connection in the time that we have with you. So we thank you for being open to that. And I'm going to toss it on back to Joss.
Thank you, Sarita. Some of you may remember Sarita. She used to have a show on Word Radio, and she has just been such a blessing to Love Now Media. So thank you so much, Sarita. Yes, so I want to introduce the panel. And I also want to let folks know that following the panel discussion, we're going to have 2 more poetry performances, one by Lindo Yes, one by Nikki Powerhouse. But then we will open the mic for a 1-minute love storytelling competition, $100 prize right here on the spot. And if we have a little more time, then we will also open the mic for up to 2 minutes for a few pieces from folks in the room. So, if you don't want to compete for the $100, you may have time depending on how much time you have. So just wanted to kind of give you that layout. All right, so for our esteemed panel, I want to first call up Jade Flower. Can we give it up for Jade Flower? I'm gonna have everybody tell us about who they are once they're up here. But I'll tell you about how I know these folks. So Jade Flower is a dear friend of mine, poet who has done a nationwide tour called the Revival Poetry event. And toured, had like poets in living rooms and spaces. I mean, it was just a very, very beautiful series of events. And I feel like with what we're doing tonight, speaking to poetry as a trusted voice, particularly in Black and brown communities, for someone who has toured different communities with poets, I thought she would be an amazing person for this panel. So Jade Flower from Baltimore, by way of DC, thank you so much for being here. Next, I'm gonna call up Carlo Campbell. Carlo Campbell, I don't know how we met, but I know that Carlo is just an amazing speaker, actor, storyteller. And so I really love his work as he told a story. Happy to have Carlo here. He's also been writing with us. Love his work. So thank you so much, Carlo, for being here. I want to invite Nikki Powerhouse. I feel like I have known Nikki for I don't know, probably 30 years or something like that, but amazing storyteller who has, she's actually featured in one of our very first Love Now Media videos. Before Love Now Media was even a company, we were first a web series called Revolutionary Love Stories, and one of those episodes is on Nikki. If you haven't seen that, it is truly entertaining and great, so check it out on our website, lovenowmedia.com. Nikki, thank you so much for being here. Next, I want to invite up Kim Russell. Kim Russell. We just heard from Kim. I'll tell you all this. Kim came out to an event. It was an 11 Days of Love Stories event about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I, as the organizer of these things, it was a team of two at that time, me and Tezera, and I was stressed out. And Kim she was just folding up booklets for us, just making sure everything just looked right. I said, "Who are you?" She's like, I'm Kim. And I said, "I just need you to just come, just be with me, please, like be with the team." And so she was working with us, and she was just everywhere. And then one day we did a call for stories, and she submitted something. I said, "Oh, sis can write." So she's been writing ever since. So Kim, thank you so much for being here. And then I want to call up Lindo. Yes. Lindo, can you fit down there? I want to try to keep this chair. Is there enough room? Okay. And Lindo, Lindo had me. We have a series called Be Do Love, and Lindo showed up to talk about his love for his work. And when he opened his mouth, it was like a heart-to-heart connection, to the point that he was putting into words things that I was feeling but had not yet processed or figured out how to articulate. And I said, "Brother, I just need you to be with us." And so he's been writing with us for about a year now. So Lindo, thank you so much for being here. Let's give it up for Lindo. So I would like to start this conversation, and we are sharing mics, everybody, so we could all be conscious of the mic. We have 4 microphones up here, so I'd like to keep one, and if I could ask for the other 3 mics to be passed. I'd like to first learn a bit about you, for you to share with the audience just a bit about how you came to the work of storytelling and poetry. We know there's a lot of power in storytelling. How did you come to the work of storytelling and poetry? We can start with Jade.
Okay. How did I come to being a writer, being a poet, being a storyteller? I believe I was sitting here on assignment, and that decision was made before I came, right? So that's it. But how I found it, I don't know. I don't know beyond that. I feel like it's so integrated into who I am and my makeup. I meet old aunts and cousins, and they be like, "You was always reading." I'll say that. It started with reading. Every elder in my family, when they see me now as an adult, they just go, "You was always reading." And I be like, "All right, Aunt Beanie, thanks. I was always reading." So, yeah. And that reading just evolved. What's up, C? Hi, Auntie. Just evolved into, writing poetry, writing my feelings. I went to an arts high school where I wrote poetry and journalism too, so it just kept going.
Great, thank you. Carlo, speaking to the power of storytelling, the power of poetry, how did you come to storytelling and poetry?
I feel like one day I'm going to get to it. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like everything is like a fluke. I don't know what I'm doing. But I do some stuff, and it informs me that maybe one day I'll get there, and then I'll know what I'm doing. And that's cool. That's definitely cool to do. And I feel rewarded when I'm done, and I really like that it's like a human connection to it, because I don't know. However, I've been scarred in my life from whatever maladies or afflictions or suffering I've gone through. I'd have been much more closed off. I wouldn't have been available to anybody here in any substantive outpouring of emotion or connectivity way. I would have been just, I probably would have just been much more of a cog in the machine. I was on the road to Ivy League, I'd have been an IT dude, I'd have probably been at 160 a year right now, working on, I'd have been real measured, I really, and writing and attempting to perceive writing and be a part of that sphere of creativity opened me up to my blackness, to myself, and to the world in ways that I'm very, very pleased with. Some days. It opens you up to suffering too. You understand more acutely the fuck shit of reality too. So, yeah, I'm done.
Carlo, before you passed the mic, you did share at one point that you won an award in the 8th grade or something for telling for storytelling and journalism. You did share that with me at a point. You don't have to share it again if you
I
don't want to.
won an award for journalism somehow. Did I? I may have. I really may have. It escapes me now. You sure that was me?
I'm sure it was you. The first day I called you to write an article for the news, you were like, "Oh, when I was in the 8th grade."
No. Oh, here's what happened. All right. I found out I was poor. A lot of people's poor, right? I wasn't destitute, but we wasn't eating like one night I had to eat it was just carrots in the refrigerator, and I was eating shit out of them though. But they used to have this thing called where there's a will, there's an A, and I used to get Fs, and I was like, damn, I wish I could afford that shit. And I had to do the cheap hustler way. I was like, I'll just study real hard and catch up to these niggas. And I really started getting straight A's, because I couldn't afford where there's a will, there's an A. And then I think I was able to write my recipe in the school newspaper. So that's, I think you're conflating some version. I think I felt like it was an award. And then, but no, but yeah, no, I wrote the recipe on how to get straight A's in the joint. I didn't cheat or anything. I was like, this is, it's crazy. Went from F's to A's. It was out of pocket. But yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you very much. Lindo?
Oh man, that is so hard to follow. It's so hard to follow because you up here and saying I don't know what I'm doing, and then you use all these $20 words and stuff. Affliction. I was about to pull up my phone to figure out what that was. I was like, you mean struggle, pain? I'm basic. He talking about he fell school using all those words. Okay. I need to study. I just listened to you for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Don't want to play Scrabble with Los. All right, so my story was filled with a lot of affliction. I was a boy in school. You should have sent me next to the Los. This is like saying the kids that should never sit next to each other in the back of the class. What y'all doing back there? Nothing.
Switch y'all in a minute.
Okay. Let me get through my story. I'm supposed to finish my assignment. All right, so I was a person who I didn't realize this in the moment, but retroactively, I had always suffered from social anxiety. And that just means I had these really, really like deep-rooted fears of just embarrassment, disappointment, to the point where I would just freeze up in any type of conversation. And to overcome those fears, I had to start rehearsing conversations in my head to feel more ready to have them so I could act in a brave space. So the more I rehearsed those conversations in my head, people started saying to me, like, hey, that sounds like a poem. That was really profound. So then, when that started catching on, I started thinking of myself as a poet. And then I started trying out. So I started going to open mics. I started seeing, what does this world of poetry mean? Is everybody saying that I'm doing it because I'm thinking about the most impactful ways to be in conversation with folks. So that was just like my origin story. It's not as profound as I wanted to be. It was just a kid that had no therapy that was trying to, prescribe himself therapy.
That part. It was a seed planted in me, and in being introduced to poetry, it was one, introducing to my words, but then introduced to living by these words, like how these words really show up in my day-to-day life. And as a storyteller, a poet, or someone, once I started to believe that not only that my words had a message in it, that I had something to give. And realizing that I had something to give was probably, I started really taking on that, I say about 7 years ago. Before then, it was just a matter of me just like trying to understand, like, there is something in me that is trying to get out of me, and I need to give it all the space that it needs to get it out of me.
Thank you.
Hey guys, so I think I've been writing for as long as I can remember, since I was very young. Grade school, I remember this one time I wrote this article for our little school newspaper or whatever, and I was very detailed in my article, writing it out and everything. And my partner that I was writing with, I think I was absent one day, and when I came back to school, she took credit for my whole article. So I was like, very upset with that. But that transformed into poetry. I started writing poetry for as long as I remember. I guess a better question for me is why did I stop? Because at one point I did stop for a while, and I was sitting here trying to remember why. And I think the best thing I can come up with is a college course that I took. I took a creative writing course. I was always a really good writer. I love English. I loved writing papers. And I always got really good, like, grades on my papers or what have you. So anytime I got, like, a C or something, I would be going back to the professor, like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, why did I get this? But creative writing was more like my baby. So I took a creative writing course, and we had to write, like 10 poems, kind of like a little booklet of poems or whatever that we turned in at the end of the semester. And my final grade on it, I was not happy with it. So I'm like, but then no one in the class looked like me either, including my professor. So I'm like, I don't know if that tied into how he was understanding what I was expressing. But I know that I wasn't happy with that grade in the end. And I think from there, I really couldn't remember writing consistently for a very long time until, I forget what year, pre-COVID, a few years before COVID, was when I started writing again and stepping back out into poetry scenes and trying to find people, my family, my people, or whatever, more poets to surround myself with, to cultivate my writing more. And now, when I write things and I get good response from it, I still sometimes question myself, like, really? Me? You liked that? Like, so I'm learning how to accept myself as well as I continue to go down this journey further. That's me.
I just want to also affirm you, Kim. Kim's article on Black business owners who do good, who give back, is the most viewed article on lovenowmedia.com. So you give it up for that writing. People are receiving it in our space for sure. So with that, I want to ask, what do you all tell stories about? What is your poetry about? What is your content about? What is your writing about? And how does that work speak to like the moment, like what's going on in our world right now? So I'll actually, I'd love to start with Nikki. And I'll give you this.
Yeah, that's fine. Pre-pandemic, my work was really geared to getting more of my story out, really getting to a space where I had a one-woman show that I did, The Art of I Am, and really just trying to put that medium or that play out there as much as possible. When the pandemic hit and life kind of shifted, for me personally, I was up, I realized that it was beyond the performance. It was beyond the what's hot going on in the world. And I had to get set down so far that I had to be uncomfortably raw with myself, where I became the audience and the performer. And I realized that my work speaks not only to the people, but it speaks to me. And my aim for the inspiration, upliftment, and empowerment, and the vulnerability is that what people see in me, that they can begin to see in themselves, that we are a reflection. Like what you see, that power in me is your power sparking in you. And there's no separation. It's a matter of me being aware of this power and accepting that I get to be raw, vulnerable, all these things in face of people, because what I see in myself, I see in my audience. And I think lately my work has been around everything, and it's been uncomfortable. And I think because of the fact that the way in which the world is showing up in our life, it's almost like 1 minute I'm like in my own zone, all in my joy, and the next minute I'm like sitting on the internet crying tears because so much is going on, and I'm realizing that I have to be able to hold the breaking and the breakthrough, so that it makes and being, with that being the case, being able to go to my work and be present that way. Because even in the inspiration, be aware that I'm breaking, I'm hurt, but still being honoring to the fact that I'm still here to inspire, I'm still here to love, I'm still here to be joyful, I'm still here to be in my conscious right mind, knowing that who I am. I'm still here to do what I was sent here to do.
My writing can be circumstantial at times. I think probably a lot of people might relate to that. If I'm falling in love, like I got a new love poem for you. Like, I mean, if I'm going through a breakup, I got that too. And then, if someone asks me to write something, like a lot of times, like Josh has given me an opportunity to write a lot of different things. Like, hey, you think you want to cover this, or you think you want to do that? And even Miss Denise, like, hey, we got this idea. We want you to cover this. And a lot of those pieces have allowed me to dig a little bit deeper when I probably wouldn't have. Like, I have a lot of feelings surrounding a lot of things. Like, when Haiti was going through their issues, like, that really triggered me a lot. But if I hadn't been asked to cover that, I may not have dug as deep as I did when it came to that situation. And yeah, my writing is circumstantial. Sometimes you might read something from me or hear something from me and be like, is that the same girl. Like, the diction may be different, how I deliver it may be different. You never know. So, it's an ebb and flow with me. So yeah.
Great. I'm Lindo, Carlo, and Jay. But before that, I just want to take a moment and have the people who are over here. Y'all can come and have a seat. Is that Queen Joe? Hey.
Oh.
I just didn't want to interrupt. Sorry, y'all. Yes. Nope. You want to see our actions. Okay. Lindo?
There have been so many points in my life, well, not really my life, but my career, where poetry has served some type of purpose for me. So at the beginning, it felt really empowering because I was like, oh, snap, I can, these words are now my sword and my shield to deal with a lot of issues that I'm having in my life. And then part of that was vanity as well. It was just like, oh, people are looking at me in ways that feel really good. And I like that. And then eventually kind of transform into just like, oh, I want to be held up against the people that I'm reading. You know, so I wanted to be in a competitive space. And when I say competitive space, I just wanted to challenge myself to be in the same vicinity and same merit as like the folks I was reading, like Joshua Bennett, Talam Acey, Sonia Sanchez. And I was like, I wanted to be in that space. So part of that was just like, all right, cool. What's the best punchline I can create? What's the best story I can create? And then after that, as I was investing into those stories, I began to understand the issues a lot bigger than what I anticipated. And then it was becoming like, how can I serve in this communal space that I'm learning about? And that kind of changed things for me. Right now, currently, my poetry is really invested in Black masculinity outside of the patriarchy. And what does that look when we're not subscribing to all the oppressive systems that hurts us, but also hurt the people around us, so we can be so invested in communal love that we can walk around with barefooted because the world is so gentle on us. And that's what I've really, really been trying to do and trying to get my hand around and really trying to put my art into that space. So that's currently where I'm at, but it could shift anytime I see another reason to serve my community.
Oh, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I will say that I come from a profound place of inspiration. Like, it'll just all come to me. Like, it'll just, and then like, ooh, and it's like I didn't even do it. Eventually, and then I'm like, whoa, I said that, and I'm like, I don't even know that. So how did I say that to know that? You know, and then it's like, whoa, or later on, it's like love letters to the emotions of my future self. It's like, whoa, now I understand that. Whoa, how did you do that? You know? So I think that's the place I operate from. That's how I get busy as a creative. I definitely want to get to the point where I'm consciously at the will, not DUI in my way through creativity, you know, because I totally have been over the years. Trust me, I've been twisted in these streets, but hiding behind, you know, any sort of intoxicants, you know what I mean. I want to be the intoxicant. I can. So I want to get to the point where I can say those things and I can dissect those emotions and those feelings and those points of view totally like clear-minded and like let those be testaments to whoever's partaking of my thing. Because at this point, it's just like in my new book, I'm scribbling for my sanity. I feel different in the world when I finish a piece. And I used to do it so habitually. And I never, like, people see me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so happy. And I'm like, word? And then I stop writing, I stop rapping, I stop doing all this stuff. I'm getting anxious. I'm somewhere, I'm crying. I'm somewhere, I'm someone like just so mad at somebody that can't drive or somebody that's just stupid as hell. I'm like, and not loving them, not understanding their stupidity, just like, oh, you a dumb motherfucker. And then I finish a poem, I write something, and then I feel how I used to feel, and I'm like, oh snap, that was, oh. So I definitely want to get back to experiencing that more, and doing that in a from a pure space. Yeah.
the question, Joss?
The question was, what issues, what do you write about? What do you write about, and how does your writing relate to what's happening in our world today? Yeah, what do you write about, and how does that relate to what's happening in the world today?
Yeah, I have to echo what everyone else on the panel has said, that it's definitely circumstantial. I definitely want to build a habit and a practice of it, and it is a form of healing and breaking through. So to that point, things that I have to work on is the murder of my father, sexuality stuff, dealing with women, being black, being queer, being 6 feet tall in the world as a woman. That's what I write about. And, you know, I always go by the mantra of, I'm not telling you what I know, I'm telling you what I've been told. So being used as an instrument. Yeah, so I just feel like whatever I write or whatever makes it to that stage point or the page point is something that was necessary for me to like act as a medium to share.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to kind of shift us into this space of talking about news. And we're thinking about poetry as journalism, as a way to really capture voices that are often unheard. But in my experience, poetry is usually the poets are very trusted voices in our communities. And so this panel is both an opportunity for us to hear from you about that, but also for me to really ask questions, you know, and learn. And so we can share this with our community as we are launching the Poets Press. So if you could talk about how you're trusted as a poet, and if you could share a story about a time or so when you felt validated as a trusted source of story for your community. Carla?
Yo, one day, I mean, this is vanity and crazy as hell, but yo, somehow it was just me and Sonia Sanchez doing a show at this school. It was me and her. Like, I'm like, well, who hired me with, like, what is this? And I was sure that the kids in front of us didn't quite know what was happening. I was like, yo, y'all know history and shit? I was like, yo, she gonna be the answer to the test. Like, like y'all, like her. I was like, yo. So that was that was a big moment to me. Like, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. This is crazy. So, yeah.
Carlo, before you move on, what about what was the content of that work? What were you speaking to that made you feel like the people who hired you trusted you?
To put me in that close proximity to our great griot, you know, like that was it. Like I told you, I totally go black up here. I'm all about inspiration and transcendence. So if I don't get high no more, or I don't eat sugar no more, or if I don't be in the gym no more, I want to get high off when I'm doing my poetry. So I'm going black. I'm just going to go all the way in and give you everything I got in that moment and get there. And the fact that when I do that, it was rewarded with that experience. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what it was. I just know that there's no way that moment informed this moment without that moment having some sort of profound information to inform that moment. You dig me?
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
You mind if I go? I can't share a time when I felt trusted as a poet, but in the like of being a person who's an organizer as well, I used to do open mics and stuff a lot. And I remember a sister came to the mic and said, this is the first time I'm ever sharing my work out loud. And she had been writing poetry for 10, 15 years. And so that made me feel trusted as a person who built a space that she felt safe enough to share. And so she was speaking her personal experience, which is the woman's experience, the black experience, et cetera. So that was a time I felt like, all right, poetry works. Poetry opens up things for people.
Great, thank you.
That question for me is like a lot to unpack, but the more I think about it, the more I feel as though it was three folds for me. The first fold was when it was serving me, when it became my superpower because it felt so empowering to know that I could do these things. and they was helping me with the anxiety. They were helping me, pay my rent. They were helping me do these things of just like activism starts at home, But then when I saw it on a very like personal interaction level, I remember I was at a show and I had performed this poem called Irregular Heartbeat. And this person who was vending there, and I'm gonna share a lot of his personhood because to me that was the part that was, my poem hit different that time, not because of what he shared to me, but how that interaction was he was a blind, using a mobile assistant, black, queer man. And he had approached me teary-eyed, and he had hugged me right after my poem. And he had whispered in my ear, I didn't think no one else saw us. And then he was just talking, he talked to me about 3 minutes after he said that, but it felt like a few hours. And I just remember though, that short story he told us is just told me, I'm not gonna share the story, but it was about how he felt that no one else saw him. And we're in a black space. And so I that was the first time I was like, yo, I have to really dig deep into the intersectionality of my work. And then that's when I really started thinking to myself of just like, what are all the people I'm not seeing? And also the people I am seeing? And how can I fight for strangers? And the more I started doing that, fighting for strangers, that's when I started feeling a different form of validation in my work, because people were offering me opportunities to be like, yo, we need you at the protest. We need you to do a 2-minute poem on this before we start marching. We need you here with this. We need you to help us put signs together and come up with phrases and stuff like that. We need a new chant. And then I was like, oh, this is different. Because I'm so used to getting booked for the venue. I'm so used to just like people wanting to book for me. But people want me to be a part of their actions. And then I was like, oh, this is different. So those 3 parts made me realize of just like, how can I serve? And this is what I want to do with my poetry.
Thank you so much.
Ooh, thank you. It's always come back to me. My work always is about, I believe that there's no art that one can share without sharing a bit of themselves. I received a few years ago the Art and Change grant, which took me a long time to believe in that I had something to give. So when I received the grant, it was like, okay, I can rock with this, I can do this. The Art and Change, the Leadway Art and Change grant had me with, I partnered with the Art Resources for Human Development, and what the combination is that I would show my one-woman show to women who were in recovery and homelessness. And they would come and see the show at the African American Museum, and then afterwards, 6 weeks later, after the show, like a week later, we would start a 6-week program using the platform of my stage play and making it into a workshop. These women profoundly trusted me. And even when I would show up every day not knowing what I was going to do with these women. And these women were women who either may have stopped using probably 30 days prior to meeting me, and there was something in me that I was sharing that made them understand that they could relate to me. And I shared my mother, prior to my mother transitioning. My mother was a recovering addict for 10 years before she transitioned into the ancestral realm. So when I shared that with them, I believe that was something that they just kind of like, they understood, because what I was speaking from the child, looking and understanding my mother's struggle and her walk. Nevertheless, 6 weeks later, these same women that came to see my show in the African American Museum, 6 weeks later, was on stage doing a rendition of The Art of I Am, but based on their own journey. And if that wasn't a trust in them to me, I don't know what else. It was like my ancestors like, baby girl, I don't know what else I need to tell you or how much you are needed. I don't know what you need, what I need to say. Because again, these are women who have experienced and what I understood more importantly is that I would need to be the voice to remind those of the world that made them believe that they would be a failure. And I would tell them that that wasn't true. And they would finally find a way to believe it until they got themselves on a stage. Because when 30 days prior to that, they were out there on the street somewhere, and now they're on the stage telling their story, using their story to empower themselves and having their friends and children see them in their power. That just sent me into a clarity of knowing that healing is not just the idea of something that you say, it is something that you become through it and you hold it. And they knew there were times I would come in, I didn't know what, but the reality of it is that, again, I'm holding the breaking and the breakthrough.
Ashe. That was awesome. I guess I probably have maybe 3 experiences. I'll just go in order. The first one, when I was in college, I used to work for a youth program called Temple Youth Voices, and I used to facilitate with them. So I would go to conferences. They would have me go to conferences. So I was a keynote speaker. I'm sorry, guys. I was a keynote speaker at a youth summit conference in D.C. And they trusted me to take them through a workshop and end with a poem, which now that I'm thinking about it, I need to find that poem. But the fact that they trusted me to do that was very powerful for me. Currently, right now, the work that Joss and Denise allows me to do with Love Down Media, I feel like is a very trusting relationship. Because I be stressed out sometimes, not like stressed bad, like, no, you guys don't stress me out. Not like that, let me finish. But when it comes to deadlines, sometimes I be like, oh my God, like, I'm not quite done yet, like, Josh is gonna kill me, Miss Denise is gonna kill me, and then every time I talk to them, they just be like, it's okay, like, we understand, life happens, like, you need a breather, sometimes you just need to relax, and I just be like, oh my God, like I thought they about to cut me off, like, girl, I'm done working with you. And then one of my happiest moments with the trust that my best friend gave me, he's a musician, and I always used to say, yo, we should write together or whatever. Like, I really want to write something. We've been saying this for like decade plus or whatever. Like, we need to write something, So he finally completed his album. He called me. He was like, I want a poetry piece on it, and I feel like you should do it. And I was like, yes. So I'm like, he's like, I need it done in like a week. So I'm like, all right. So it's like the pressure was on, but something came over me, and I had like a moment where it was like a download. And it came to me, and I wrote it out. Never even heard his album at all. I sent it to him, and he was like, this is perfect. Like, and I didn't want to send it to him like, just here you go. Like, so I sat in my bathroom and like recorded myself over and over again until it was perfect. And he was like, I don't even need you to come in the studio. And he was like, it was perfect. And his producer was like, she never heard your album? And he was like, no. And he's like, everything that you put in this poem is on my album, and it meshes perfectly. And the reception was like so great. It was like one of my best moments that he trusted me with that.
That's great. Thank you. So just in thinking about the tradition of storytelling, for me, I study the griot tradition, or the tradition of jellies, West African jellies. Griot is a French word that a lot of West African jellies actually don't use. And in the tradition of jellies, they're trained from the time they're children to tell stories, and they are the deliverers of information. They teach people their history. They also offer healing tools. They offer solutions, And so, of course, today in the United States of America, where we're in this very capitalist society, news is really, it's a cycle that is highly monetized, right? It's about how many clicks you got, what is the size of your audience, you know, how many people are viewing your website or your ads. They're ads that are paid for to be put inside your news or on your website. And if you don't have news that like sells, it's kind of hard to really get into news as a business. And so the Poets Press will really be challenging some of those, some of the way that is constructed by really thinking about poets as griots, as jellies in communities who can actually deliver information and also solutions, maybe offer healing, but speaking to some of the very contemporary issues that are happening right now. So I want to ask you all about, one, your relationship to news. What is your relationship to news? And do you think there is a place for poetry right now? Like, so yeah, kick it, Carlo.
That was, you know how everybody asks the little kid, like, they get to the age where they can talk, and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I want to be da-da-da-da, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a firefighter. It's like, and they would get a kick out of me. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a news reporter. Like, I was like 3. Like, I just seen it on the news, and I seen the TV. And I wanted to, you know, that's why I love, like, the opportunity. Remember, I told you I always wanted to be a news reporter. I was like, yeah, I'll write these articles. Yes, yes. I never went to college. Yes, I'll do your term paper. I'll write your paper for you, friend, so I can know what grade I would have got in 14th grade. I want to know what my GPA would have been. I'll average all these papers. And then working with Miss James. Miss James, I'm like, hold up, set. I Googled. I was like, oh, shit, she from the team. Yeah, I'm kind of doing it. Yeah. Yeah. She's like, oh, you're writing this dope. I'm like, word, Miss James? That's crazy. That's crazy. So, yeah, I wanted to do that. So I definitely feel like when I found out that the news reporters, though, are reading off of a thing, and that they don't always write the stuff, they're reading off the thing. It was like Santa Claus was fake. I was like, oh, my God. They not... I thought they was like Clark Kent getting out there getting a story. Then they become Superman in front of the screen. Like, no, it's somebody else. You know what I mean? Like J. Jonah James was like, you better say this shit. Like, oh, like, but I don't know. But you better say, you know. I was like, damn. So then I was like, I scratched that idea, and I started rapping. Yeah, but and lo and behold, I found out they used to call like rap the Black CNN. You know, so. I ended up on the Black CNN network. So I just say all that to say, I love news. I'm addicted to it. I just got to the point where I can watch like Fox without like gagging or like getting inflamed. Because I'm like, oh, it is made to inflame me. I'm like, damn, they winning. If I can't just watch it and see the entertainment value in it, or like work to understand their point of view, or work to understand the motive behind their point of view. Like, even it's like, damn, he's saying this shit. He clearly don't believe this shit. He's too intelligent to believe this dumb shit. He's saying these dumb people. But I mean, it's like, yo, just so doing those mental Rubik's cubes and like, what part of this news is for the click or the ad or the psoriasis medicine I'm gonna see on the next break? You know, like what part it goes into this? So, but I'm definitely addicted to the news for those mental gymnastics I get to do inside my own head. Not because they're informing me well. I probably should read if I want to learn some shit. But yeah, so who's next?
Jade?
Yeah, I have a very healthy relationship with the news. My grandpa used to read the Washington Post every morning. He folded, and drink his Folgers. So I just remember seeing that and hearing the news every morning when my mother got ready for work. So now when I get ready for work, I listen to Democracy Now! Or I'll listen to the news. And it's important to me to do that because I'm a selfish person naturally. And so it's like, oh, woe is me, oh, gas, oh, new shoes, oh, job. And then I watch the news and it's like, oh, like everything's all right, sis. Like it's gonna be okay. But I will say when you think of poetry as the news, me and my girlfriend will watch like comedy shows. We'll watch Bill Maher or Last Week Tonight. And it's like they're being funny, But it's really like they're pulling it from the headlines. I'm really getting the news just with a joke. So it sounds super interesting and innovative to me that you're saying, here, you can get the news, but you just also know inherently that it is also a bit subjective because it is a poem. So I get that the joke is your opinion, but that's a fact that you're joking about. So with the poetry, like the poem can go either way. But you know it's rooted in some truth and really gives you an example of what's going on if you believe the personal is political and things like that.
Great, thank you. Lindo?
I like to think of myself as a political blur, and that basically means that I've taken a lot of this to like the news, and I really take it in because it's part of my work of just like fighting for strangers. Like, I won't know these stories otherwise, and I'm really selective on what news outlets that I'm taking in because I know what experiences I have and how the take of the journalist that is doing that. So, like, all right, I'm going to be super real with y'all. All right, no, I'm not going to be super real. I decided not to. Yeah, I had to self-edit because I was like, we got too many cameras today. If it was no cameras, I would share that story that I had in my head. But so I'm gonna edit some of this stuff out. So it is what it is. There was a moment where I went into this institution, and when I went into the institution, I went in for one reason. And then I saw that they had this newspaper. I had never seen this newspaper before, right? So I was intrigued of just like, why would they have this newspaper here? And this story would make sense if I stayed at the institution. So I got the paper, and then I read one of the stories, and I was like, yo, this happened in my neighborhood. Like, this is 8 blocks away. Why are y'all the only ones covering it? And it was like such a traumatic story. And I was like, oh my God, I would have never known this otherwise. So that made me think to myself, I gotta seek out the news. And I also have to seek out who's telling it, because there's certain people that only wants to tell certain stories. And there are also certain people that I am not tapping into unless I do additional work to find them. So ever since that moment, I have always just like talk to people because we hold news within ourselves. There's stories that we're not sharing that are so newsworthy, but the journalists are not coming to our neighborhood. Like, one of the biggest things that I learned during the beginning of COVID was like, oh, a lot of these questions and a lot of these resolves could be answered if you went block to block. If you came to us versus us seeking you out, because part of this is having conversations so we can trust you. Part of this is being accessible to us. And then part of this is we need more than just what you're giving. So you need to know what else do you need to give. And when I realized that, I was like, I got to talk to more people because they have so much news in themselves. So I know what's going on in my block because I'm talking to the person up the street. I know what's going on into my overall neighborhood because I'm talking to the person that's standing in front of me in the post office. I'm knowing what's going on in a bigger scale because I'm reaching out to outlets that are like writing about this that wouldn't otherwise be there, because not everything is on, we're in Philly, Channel 6, but that's not making them less newsworthy. And then also, some of the people that have the best resolves are the people that are, all right, I'm gonna abbreviate this story. The people that's in the mud with you. And those people can tell you about that because they know what it means to get dirty in the mud. And that's the stories I want. So that's my connection to politics, because I'm seeing how everything is trickling down and whose stories are there omitting out. And then I'm trying to find those omitted stories from those Johns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, news, social media is truly a... That's where I get my news from. And I think I don't watch the news like on television. I don't do, because I'm such an empath, and my emotions and things and the things that people are sharing, it gets to get a bit tiring when the news is about you and all the people that is being taken off this planet. And so the news would start to get overwhelming. And so I would, and the last thing when Josh had spoke to me about the Poet Press and writing something as relates to the shooting in Texas, the school. Yeah, you know, my initial response was, it felt like I didn't know, it was a different audience. And an audience that, we even thinking about it, sometimes it's just like, when I look at little kids in 4th grade, I can't really see them, I can't stare at them long enough because I just like feel like, Spirit, what would you have me say to these children? What would you have me say to them? And what was coming up was to hold the space of both, letting them know that you share in their grief and holding the space that you share in the idea, understanding that there's prayers being like giving abundantly. So this would be to hear my voice in as a news, or to have it where it has a greater impact beyond what we constantly see, to kind of like have the hope in it, the pain, the discomfort, the inspiration. Like, this would be good to be a part of that, because I think that that's what a lot I don't see in the news on a day-to-day. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. We'll hear from Kim, and then we'll take some questions from the audience.
I would say my relationship with the news is functional, particularly with reading, because obviously I can get through the article, I can comprehend well. Sometimes I may have to read it twice because I didn't checked out mentally, but it has no heart in it. It's just like, this is blah, 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 blah. Like, so I do appreciate the Poets Press and allowing us to write in a way that brings heart into the story. I appreciate that more. And outside of TV, like saying what you said, it's depressing sometimes watching the news. Social media news does allow you to catch up on current events very quickly. So I appreciate it for that. But in terms of watching the news, I learned early on, I forget who said it, but somebody, a teacher or somebody said in the news, if it bleeds, it leads. So you're always going to see the worst story in the beginning as they capture your attention, and then you see some cuddly about cats and kittens at the end of the story. I mean, at the end of the newscasting. So I see that now more and more, and I don't want to keep watching it all the time on the news. So I would prefer my news like Trevor, and he deliver it with comedy and sarcasm and things like that, and I'm still getting the meat of the story. So that's real my relationship with the news.
Thank you, everyone. I want to open it up for a few questions from the audience. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. Any questions? Anyone want to ask a question? And you can just like, okay.
So I know we talked about writing, but I want to talk about performing because I'm a performer. And for myself, there are so many things I can lean on, right? There's music I can lean on. But during my learning process, I had to do things like be comfortable with my voice, be comfortable with my size, my space, all those different things. What is some advice you could give to somebody on a performance stage, in a performance level, on how you personally command attention in a space, how you use space, how you use your stature, how you use your voice? Would you summarize that question on mic, please?
Okay. We can't really.
Whoever's answering the question.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. So how do you what tips would you offer for someone who is looking to present their voice to the public, and that is as a performer, as a poet, as a storyteller?
For me, the poem starts way before I speak. I believe that presence is everything, and presence of knowing that you have something to say, knowing your message within your piece, whether poetry, song, knowing that is an energy force that you're about to share, and your presence should permeate the space so that the attention is, they're ready to receive, you know. And I think when you start to like get prepared and you start the performance, the message sometimes, and most of the time, is bigger than the performance. You know, 'cause some people, you know, sometimes, you know, you do a piece and it's like, oh, wait, I messed up. And it's like, that's not the performance. The message is bigger than the mess up, the mistake. So we're not listening for the mistake. And you shouldn't focus on the mistake. You know, just make sure that the message is being intentional to land on the people, because they're there for that, you know, and to hold it or to hide it or to do whatever other than sharing it is a disservice to yourself, as well as a disservice to the people that came for their message.
Thank you.
That's such a like topic that could be spent on for hours. So I just want to like spend 2 points on what I think has been consistent with me for performing. One is something I learned when I was taking some theater workshops was remember who the character is before stage. So that keeps in mind of just like, why did you create that piece before you even thought about it being a performance? And then giving that trying to hit those same type of objectives on stage. So like I have a poem called Flowers, and I think about like, oh, I really wanted to perform this because I saw a whole bunch of people taking an empty lot and making a garden. And then I try to use that purpose in my performance, recognizing that now I'm on stage and I'm trying to serve that purpose of those folks and tell those folks' stories to an audience that didn't see that empty lot. And then the second thing that I said is, I don't know if this is a real thing, but I don't like sports, but I watch a lot of sports documentaries. And one thing that I really pay attention to is just like how athletes are so tender to themselves before they get on to perform. Like they want to get a massage, and you know other players are just like encouraging them or giving them a massage. So I'm like, what can I do to make myself comfortable in this space? And then the second part is a lot of athletes will think through every single moment to win the game. And that's what I often think about. I think about how many steps it's going to take me to the stage. Someone might drop something. How am I going to avoid that? All those things that, for me as an anxious person, will help me be more comfortable on stage, I'm thinking through too, as well. So that was 3 tips. There you go.
Thank you. I hope you'll do flowers for us later.
One more?
Yeah.
Surprise yourself. Like, throw away the shit you was doing in the shower. Like, everything you done, like, get out there and explore. That's that. Like, you know, if I see like a patch of people, I'm like, dag, I'm scared of these people. This energy is intimidating. Then lean into the intimidation, like lean into a relationship, or find out if it's validated. I'm intimidated because these niggas is scary. Like, oh shit, I'm like, I was right. Or I'm like, dag, they're lovely. You know what I mean? Just be ready to surprise yourself. Surprise yourself and be vulnerable. And if you latch on to everything that was safe, your joint is going to read like a safe presentation. It's going to read like a manicured presentation. It's going to be alive with vigor if you surprise yourself and you kind of just be in those moments. That's my opinion.
Great. So a couple things. We have 2 more performances from Lindo Yes and Nikki Powerhouse. And then we are going to have a 1-minute storytelling competition. So is there anybody actually, if you have a 1-minute story and you want to compete tonight, okay, we got Tevin. Can we talk? Yes, we got Tevin. 1. Anybody else? Oh, Imala. Are you in the 4th grade? 3rd. Are you going to the 4th? Going to the 4th. There's your 4th grader, Nikki. We got Imala, and who else do we have? Who else do we have who's going to compete? And Jade Flower is going to tell a story. So y'all can be thinking of your stories during the performance. It's going to be $100 cash prize here. Hey, okay. All right. So as we close out this panel, I want to thank all of you for speaking to this issue. Thank you. I want to ask all of you to pull out your phones and follow Love Now Media and go to lovenowmedia.com and get on our mailing list so that if you want to be part of the Poets Press, you can receive information, you can follow along. And I want to invite Lindo Yes to give us something. Okay? Yeah, let's just do it from here, okay? Yeah, okay,
cool.
thank you.
When I was rehearsing in my head, I didn't expect to have such an audience. I mean, an audience on stage with me. I thought I was going to be by myself. It was going to be like in the studio moment. Cool. Thank you, Los. Do
you want us to leave?
No. I'm fucking with y'all, kind of. I'm going to do 2 short poems. One of the poems is called Flowers, and it was a collaboration with my friend and fellow poet, Enoch the Poet, and he had a line that said, "Ain't flowers the blackest shit ever." And, can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure. I mean, Los quotes a lot, but Los do a lot of things that I don't do. So I want to make sure. All right, cool. So I'm going to perform it. It's a really short piece, so I'm going to perform it twice. It's 30 seconds, so when I perform it twice, it's going to be 1 minute. Ain't flowers the blackest shit ever? How they put dirt on us and we still grow. Drown us in water and we survive, planet and everything that keeps us grounded. They be shooting solar rays at us, hoping that we wither. Not knowing our melanin be photosynthesis, the sun be our best friend. Ain't flowers the blackest shit ever? How they put dirt on us and we still grow. Drown us in water and we survive, planet and everything that keeps us grounded. They be shooting solar rays at us, hoping that we wither. Not knowing our melanin be photosynthesis, the sun be our best friend. Ain't flowers the blackest shit ever? Thank you. I have one more poem, and very similar to that poem where it talks about, resiliency. This poem came about because of just like my therapy sessions. I've been on and off therapy for the last 6 to maybe 8 years, and my last therapist had asked me of just like, what does it mean to ask for everything you need without struggle, and to receive it, and what do you need? And I created this poem off of that idea, what did I need? It's called Tough Love. Before I do Tough Love, I just want to shout out that I got to use the mic all night that got the bonnet on it. And I was like really excited about that. I was like, Nikki, don't go nowhere with that mic. That's our mic. Because this shit feels so good. It got a little bonnet on it. I'm like imagining it being a little person. I'm like, all right, look at me. I don't know if anybody else would think of that, but my imagination, I was like, a little shower cap. I felt really special having the little person holding on to me. We holding on to each other. All right, cool. This is Flowers. I mean, this is not Flowers. This is Tough Love. All right, cool. I want to be black man, held and quiet, Small spoon, soft body. I feel as though I am black man, holding and loud and spoon fed that I need to be hard body. I feel like nobody when somebody kills my softness to be tough. Call it tough love. Tough love is being punched until you don't cry. And crying's the only thing that stops the punching from hurting as much. I want to be black man, held and quiet. Small spoon, soft body. I feel as though I am black man, holding in loudness. Spoon fed that I need to be hard body. I feel like nobody when somebody kills my softness to be tough. Call it tough love. Tough love is being punched until you don't cry. And crying's the only thing that stops the punching from hurting as much. Thank you.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. I like this. You know, it's been a minute to be in a space, an intimate space with my peoples. I sure. Black girl magic, you so magic. Black girl magic, you so magic. They call you magic. You birthed yourself out of the eclipse. You carried yourself for 9 months so you could push out power. Ain't I a woman type magic? Ain't I more than enough type magic? Women who write love letters across their skin that reads, be kind to me. You don't know where I've been. Black girls that understand that they could love themselves apologetically. Black girls that hold themselves in the middle of the night so they can fill up on their own love. Black girls that see every mirror is light, for they see as God see them, so they have perfect sight. Black girl magic, you so magic. Black girl who is too grand of a moon to be handled in pieces. Black girl magic, you so magic. Black girls that hold themselves like peacocks with their head up high, knowing that they never lost their voice. It just hit it in the backbone. So when they speak, their ancestors gather to hold them up. Black girl magic, you so magic. Black girl that hold themselves and walk with a dignity, that carry themselves to be birthing again and again. They are full bloom. Black girl magic, you so magic. They are the breaking and the breaking through, knowing that the other side awaits them. Black girl magic, you so magic. That's right. And the last piece I will do is from my book coming out, The Softest Part of Her is Everything. In the beginning, where time had no meaning, we were the sum of galaxies and God's breath. Infinity orbited the earth and created itself into an umbilical cord, so all of human life would embody her DNA. We are limitless. Some of us didn't think we would make it off the block. The world had marked us a failure, and we believed them. Little black girls and boys who only could dream as far as their corners. But we had grandmothers and grandparents that visit us at night, so we were able to see rainbows in the dark. They would pass down stories holding up mirrors in front of us. Your voice and my voice are one. Then I am my great-great-grandmother's laughter. The sound of her voice cradles me in my night dreams, and when I look at her, she inspires me to reach deep down inside me and paint the sky tangerine. Her voice travels through autumn leaves while all the children, we sit under the sycamore tree and we listen with our hearts and mind wide open as she delivers earth messages through rhythmic breaths. She tells me, she tells you, each and every one of you, hand plucked from heaven's branches and sowed into Mother's earth soil to sprout, to bloom. Children, she said, remember your first name. Children, she said, remember your first name. You shaped and saturated in the stars, reflecting perfect light, painted in gold and outlined in silver. Your smile is the sunrise carved into sculptures of undeniable beauty and power. Children, remember your first name, she said. Your first name is I am. Your last name is powerful. Your first name is I am. Your last name is brilliant. Your first name is I am. Your last name is potential. Your first name is I am. Your last name is limitless. Children, remember, your I am is your birthright. Ashe.
When I say, what do we want? Can you say love? What do we want? Love. When I say, when do we want it? Can you say now? When do we want it? Now. How do we get it? Love now. What do we want? Love. When do we want it? Now. How do we get it? Love now. How do we get it? Love now. Sarita made that up. Thank you, Sarita. That's our chant. That's our chant. That's our chant. You know, and sometimes it's like, oh, this is so cool. But then there are other times when things are happening in our world, and it's like we have to stand in that chant. It has to be a demand, like a real demand, because people are they're detached from the power of love and from what love can really do for us in terms of our own healing, in terms of our ability to continue to connect with one another, and in terms of our ability to support our communities and to find a way to rebuild some of the systems that are breaking, and to think about how we're going to create the future together. So thank you all. It's time for our 1-minute storytelling competition. So let's bring up our storytellers. We got Tevin, come on up. We have Imala, come on up. And we have Jade Flower, come on up. So we're gonna start off with Tevin. Tevin, wait, let me get my phone. We're gonna actually, can I get a timekeeper from the audience? Somebody help me out. Okay, we got C. Smith. Give it up for C. Smith, our board member. Timekeeper. Oh, we got Kim. Okay, come on up here, Kim. C got it. Yep, okay. You ready? All right, and Tevin, go.
Ready? I feel like my wife is somewhere watching me, knowing damn well she'd take me as I am, but understanding that I'm not who I want to be for her yet. So she's waiting patiently while my love for myself grows to meet her love for her, so that when we are present together, there is no need for fixing, just love. I pray for the day to come soon, but with wisdom I do not rush it, yet surrender it to the universe, for they know what is good and when I am ready, because she deserves to love me when I am healed, so that she may know the feeling of having her peace reciprocated. So I work diligently, meeting with God every day through practices of gratitude, self-love, and accountability, hoping that through my diligence and discipline, I will reach the frequency to attract her, so that we can share our wholeness together as God intended. Both understanding that he made us in his image, which is to say he made us whole, with the intention of sharing our love with all of creation. So as I write, I hope you see this. I hope you've made the same promise to wait, because you understand, as do I, the time it takes to cultivate something so beautiful, so pure.
There was a guy named Edward. He was nature, like real nature. Like he was grass, and he was flowers, and he was trees. And there was this girl named Rosemary, and she was magical. Everywhere she went, magic sprouted up like flowers. And one day, she passed a dirt road, and that's where Edward was. She walked and she skipped and she sang, and Edward grew, and he sang, love grows where my rosemary goes, and nobody knows like me. And Edward became a human, and they sung together, and they made a jungle.
We ready? Yeah. All right, the title of the story is called My Hand Was Itching. I've been working at a job for the past year, working remotely, and everybody loves to work remote. I never have to leave the house. Sometimes I don't put on clothes, I just work in my pajamas. It's lovely. But I really hate it. It's very lonely. I like going to happy hour. I like hanging out with coworkers. I feel like you meet your closest friends at work in adulthood. So I told my supervisor, I said, I really like the job, but I hate it here. And she said, well, take some time off and we'll figure out if we can fix it. So I went to California for a week, maybe like a week and a half, had a good time, and I came back and we had my company 1 year review, and I got a $25,000 raise. And so I like working remote now. It's fine with me. The end.
I also feel like baby girl won already. She's the winner. I didn't have a story actually prepared, so this story is really more so just off the top about that moment in yourself when you really just snapped and went too far. So it's like another aspect of my personality that is like, you don't want to meet her. When I was dealing with a terroristic emotional vampire. So yeah, he cheated. He got drunk, he fell asleep. He liked to go fishing and had frozen fish in the freezer. So I took the fish out the freezer, threw it in the bed with him, took all the covers, left him a note that said sleep with the fishes, took his car, drove to the bar. I ended up getting drunk at the bar, and I'm staring at the bar. And at the bar there they got, signs up. And I'm reading the sign, it's like, heal thy baby. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what is a heal thy baby? And then it clicked, and it says, a healthy baby starts with you. And then I realized I went too far. And I needed to go.
Oh man, let's bring all of our storytellers back up. And so the way we have to do this vote is you can give a little soft yay for a person if you kind of like them and you thought they were great, but give a big loud yay for the person who you think should win, okay? All right, so let's give it up for Tevin. Okay, let's give it up for Imala. Let's give it up for Jay Flower. And let's give it up for Kim. Imala is the winner. All right, let me get that $100 for you, Imala. Do you have any words that you want to offer?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So, yes, let's mix and mingle.